Hello, families. My name is Kimberly Hayes, and I'm a first grade teacher. Today, we're exploring what your child is learning in first grade math in North Carolina and how you can support them at home. Let's break down the major focus areas, key updates, and the important progression of skills throughout the year. In first grade, standards are built for math learning and are centered around four main areas called domains. The first domain is operations and algebraic thinking. Your child will be solving addition and subtraction word problems within 20 using different problem types, like finding a missing part or comparing amounts. They'll also be working with problems that involve adding three numbers with a total of 20 or less. We help students use strategies such as counting on, making 10, and recognizing how addition and subtraction are related. One of our biggest goals is helping students become fluent with math facts up to 10. Students move from basic counting strategies to solving math problems using part-whole thinking and properties of addition. This prepares them for multi-step problems in later grades. The second domain is number and operations in base 10. Students will learn to understand place value by breaking numbers into tens and ones. They'll count up to 150, which gives them more practice with number patterns. They'll also work on mental math skills, like finding 10 more or 10 less than a number. And they'll use drawings or objects to help add and subtract numbers up to 100. As students progress, they begin to understand that numbers are built from tens and ones. They also learn to compare two-digit numbers and solve problems with two-digit numbers using models and place value. 6 strategies are mentioned to teach the concepts in these first two domains and throughout math. The first strategy students will use to meet the standards in this domain is counting on. Students may put the first number in their head and count on using their fingers. A second strategy is to make 10. Students may decompose one of the addendums to make a group of 10, as this image shows. A third strategy listed in the standard is decomposing a number leading to a 10. The number being subtracted is decomposed to land on 10, and then the remaining number is subtracted. A number line is a useful tool for teaching this strategy as well. The fourth strategy is using the relationship between addition and subtraction. In grade 1, this is evident in two ways. First, students use known addition number combinations to help them answer a subtraction problem, or they solve a subtraction problem by adding up from the number they are subtracting until they reach the start number. For example, consider 19 minus 11. The student may know 11 plus 8 equals 19, which helps them know if they take 11 from 19, they'll be left with 8. This is number facts. Or they can start at 11 and use the strategy of counting on to see that they need 8 more to make 19. The fifth strategy is using a number line. A number line is a tool that can be used to provide a visual to show how a student counts on, makes a group of 10, or decomposes a number leading to a 10. The sixth strategy is creating equivalent but simpler or known sums. When students know number combinations, they may use those to help them solve related problems. Many of us do this in our everyday lives. This image here shows how a student might solve the problem 6 plus 6 using simpler or known sums by adding 5 plus 5 plus 2 to get to 12. Now let's talk about the third domain, measurement and data. In this area, students use non-standard tools to measure length and compare objects. They build on their work from kindergarten when they directly compared the length of two objects to determine whether the objects were shorter, longer, or the same length as one another. In first grade, students will order and sequence 3 objects by length. For example, they may list items in order from shortest to longest when given image like these pencils. Or they will use non-measuring tools to determine the length of the object, such as paper clips. They'll also learn to tell time to the hour and half hour on analog and digital clocks. In first grade, students are expected to tell the times on digital and analog clocks using the vocabulary hour, minute, 30, and half past. Coin identification, such as recognizing quarters, dimes, nickels, and pennies, has also been added to the curriculum. Finally, students will learn to organize and interpret simple data using charts with up to 3 categories. Students are expected to pose questions and collect, analyze, and interpret data. Students should be posing questions that yield categorical data with up to 3 categories. For example, using this chart, students may answer questions like, how many children voted? How many more children like the turtle than the seahorse? How many fewer children like the seahorse than the shark? Students learn to compare lengths, tell time, identify coins, and interpret simple data. These foundational skills support future learning in time management, money, and data analysis. And finally, the fourth domain is geometry. Students will build and describe 2D and 3D shapes and learn the difference between defining and non-defining attributes, such as the number of sides or corners. They'll also work with composite shapes, like putting 2 triangles together to make a square, and learn how to divide shapes into halves and fourths. Students build, name, and describe shapes. They learn how shapes fit together and how to divide them into equal parts, which lays the groundwork for understanding fractions and area in later grades. There have been some important revisions to these first grade standards. The counting range now goes up to 150 versus 120 to encourage more pattern recognition. Fluency now focuses specifically on facts within 10, not 20. Coin identification has been added, and a previous standard about relating counting to addition and subtraction was removed. Comparison problems now focus only on the difference unknown. This change helps simplify early problem solving and prepare students for more complex comparisons later. Beyond the content, we also teach students how to think like mathematicians through the Standards for Mathematical Practices, or SMPs. These practices include making sense of problems, reasoning through solutions, using models and drawings, and explaining their thinking, all through word problems and practice. By using the SMPs, students learn to approach math with confidence, curiosity, and creativity. They don't just solve problems, they learn how to analyze, reflect, and communicate mathematically. So, how can you support them at home? When teachers and families work together, students have a much higher potential to succeed. Some simple ways you can support your child in their math learning is just talking about math in everyday life, like counting, measuring when baking, or handling money. Play math games together that involve numbers and shapes, and encourage your child to explain their thinking to develop that analytical process. And stay connected with your child's teacher by asking questions and looking for additional resources as needed. First grade is an exciting year for developing confidence in math. It marks a critical stage in developing number sense, spatial reasoning, and problem solving strategies. The key learning progressions move students from concrete to more abstract thinking, and each domain builds logically towards more advanced skills. These updated standards and learning progressions give students the tools they need to become flexible thinkers and strong problem solvers, setting them up for success in the future. Thank you for partnering with us to support your child's success in math. Together, we can help build a strong foundation that will serve them for years to come.